Welcome to the Finding the Magic podcast, where books come alive. I'm Tricia Copeland, a fiction author and host of this show. If you love books, finding great reads, and hearing about the story behind the story directly from the authors, this is the place for you. Whether you like fantasy, science fiction, dystopian, or romance titles, I think you'll find something to love in my playlist. Listen in to discover something magical about a book or two today. Welcome, Edward.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today we have author E.J. Isaacs, a sci-fi author, and you have your first book published, A New Beginning, a military space opera. Jump in and tell us all about the book.
It's very futuristic. It takes place about 400 years in the future from today. This book is the first of what will be a 5-book series. And so it's basically about a new spaceship that we as humanity has developed. We've not too long in the past come out of a galactic war that we got embroiled in. We didn't even know there were other aliens in the galaxy until the war began, or the war at least fell upon humanity. It had been going on for about 1,000 years. And where humans and their colony worlds were located is considered sort of in the demilitarized zone. We were kind of in the middle of these warring factions and did not realize it until one of our colonies was attacked. So the war has taken place. We've recovered from that. A lot of this is explained at the beginning of the book. And now we're setting back out to re-explore the galaxy, knowing that we're not the only ones out there, and also kind of keeping an eye out to make sure that the war doesn't start all over again.
And are we in our galaxy that we currently live in, or is it like
Yes.
another galaxy far, far
No,
away?
it's not a galaxy far, far away. Um, but it is definitely in our galaxy, and I've developed over the years a timeline for basically what happens with humanity up till that point that this story begins. And even after this 5-book series, I have plans to write other stories within that timeline about other things that happen as humanity gets out into the stars.
Right.
So definitely have all kind of thoughts about more books to come.
That's fun. Yeah, it kind of hurts my brain to think about 400 years in the future. Did you do a lot of research as far as the technology that the characters are using?
Absolutely. I myself just recently retired after 45 years in information technology at a variety of different companies. And I've always been very much a space enthusiast and a technology enthusiast, and been tracking not just the kind of technologies that we use today and how we got there, but projecting ahead how that technology will continue to change, as it absolutely will, and how that will influence us and our society.
Do you have any AI or robot technology in your stories? And that's the big thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, the story has a self-aware AI, if you will, um, on board the ship that is actually a secret from the crew when they started. The captain has an alien race that she has partnered with in the past, install it on the ship during construction. And over time, more of the crew will learn about it. But that's sort of one of the beginning pieces of drama in the story, is that this is actually a secret from most of the crew for quite a while.
Interesting. So tell us about the characters, the main characters, and who they are and what their roles are.
The main characters would be the captain of the ship. Her name is Rena Sheets. Um, she is a very experienced captain, what they call in my timeline a senior captain, and she's the one who personally has designed this ship. She is also a member of the family that controls all of the technology that allows humanity to what they call jump to another point in space. This is how we got to the stars initially. And at some point, I will write a story about how that all happened in the past. Um, so she's very well connected, but she doesn't use that connection with her family in her career. She's very adamant about keeping them separate. Another main player is the first officer of the ship. His name is JP or John Paul Raleigh, and he has just spent the last 12 years in intelligence, gathering all kind of interesting information, not just about the invading alien species, but also our own allies that we have joined together to fight this invading species. Um, and as the readers will discover, the captain and the first officer had a previous relationship. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of wondering if that will be rekindled or not. Um, New characters joining the ship for the first time will include a lot of young officers coming right out of the academy that the captain has personally picked, some of whom will be put in positions of being senior officers of the ship right off the bat, which is a bit of a surprise to them. And so we'll learn more about them. And of course, a main character of the ship you'll see quite a lot is Shenna, which is the name of the self-aware computer on board the ship, talking frequently with the captain and over time other members of the crew as they become aware of her or are introduced to her by the captain. So I would say those are probably the main characters right off the bat. And being that it's a large ship, there'll be a number of other characters that will come in and out of play as time goes on.
Right. And when we say space opera, how do you define space opera?
Space opera, I don't want to necessarily compare it to a soap opera, but besides obviously being in the future and involving technology and space travel in some way, are all about the relationships between the characters. You know, the pros, the cons, the ups, downs, their love lives, um, basically how they live and work day to day in their current environment. And I definitely explore that with a number of the characters in the book in this book and more over time.
So more maybe a Star Trek feel then?
Definitely a Star Trek feel. My publisher, when he was first reading the initial draft, said he really felt like he was sitting down, watching a Star Trek episode. He liked the scenery that I painted as being very cinematic, and he definitely had that feel. It was definitely different than Star Trek enough, but the similarities definitely exist.
So fans of Star Trek would probably be enticed to
Oh,
read this then.
they'll absolutely recognize a lot of it. Absolutely. I mean, you're on a starship that can go to other stars, to go to other places. Um, the officers all train in a what I call fleet academy. But I went out of my way to make sure I'm not one for one copying Star Trek. I wanted it to be my own universe and my own design and its own history.
Right. And how did you decide on the 5 book series? Is there one main goal that stretches throughout the series, or is there one main antagonist that they're trying to
There is
control
an
or overcome?
overarching story arc that connects all the books. And to be honest, it might surprise readers to learn that I actually wrote this story arc way back in 1992, and always intended it to be, multiple books. And when I sat down and plotted it out, it was going to be anywhere between 5 and 6 stories. I wasn't hardcore on the number at the time, but I definitely have an overarching story to tell. It will involve a lot of conflict with this invading species, which humans refer to as angels
Oh, interesting.
because of their appearance. And, that connects the overarching story and provides a lot of the conflict. But there's a lot of other conflict and things going on in the overall storyline as well.
Fun. And yeah, and definitely this world seems like you could do all those prequels and the spin-offs and it could go on forever.
Oh yeah, and definitely the universe that I've taken the time to create over the years would would definitely lend itself to a lot of other storylines. Either history of some of the characters in this series were completely new characters, where humanity was at different points in the timeline. I have a rough outline of a trilogy of books that basically leads up to our getting involved in that galactic war in the first place. And so I'm kind of anxious at some point to get to that, to bring people into how we got totally involved in that in the first place. In my stories, that's already happened. It's in the past, but much more detail about how we got embroiled in that, where humanity was before the war kind of fell upon us, and before we realized we weren't alone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty massive thing, a change for humanity, I guess. How
Right.
fast are these books coming out then?
I am working to get the first draft of my second book to my publisher before the year is out. And I'm sure, he'll have revisions and updates for me to come back to, but I'm trying to push to see if I can get the second book to come out by next fall.
Okay.
Uh, and if I can continue that, basically a book a year. I'm hoping to actually accelerate that since I just retired at the end of June. So writing is now my full-time profession from my point of view.
Fun. And well, you said you started this world in 1992, so this has been in the back of your mind for a long time.
Absolutely. It kind of came out of, I'm very much a geek myself. I'm into technology, computers. Um, I did a lot of role-playing games way back when. And one of the role-playing games that I did in the late 80s and early 90s was Star Trek. A lot of people don't realize Star Trek actually had
Yeah.
role-playing game as well. And I did about a 2 to 3 year stint of playing Star Trek with some friends of mine. We really spent a lot of time developing our characters as part of the role-playing experience. I loved the characters that we created. Um, Decided I wanted to use those characters, some of which do appear in my story, all with their permission. And then, but I wanted to take it out of the Star Trek universe and create my own. Um, Life didn't cooperate to give me a lot of time to write. I was very much had a family. I was always very busy working. And but I took a lot of notes on what I wanted my universe to be, which I developed over the next 20 odd years. And I started working on this first book in earnest probably around 2018, 2019, and went to a writers conference in 2023, and where they taught you how to pitch your book to a publisher. Signed up to talk to a publisher who did science fiction, and probably didn't get 30 seconds into my pitch when the publisher said, "I'm interested.
Oh,
Send me the
cool.
first few chapters and let's discussion begin." And that's how I got started.
Oh, that's so exciting. Yeah. That's really neat to hear that story. And I think a lot of readers don't realize like how much of world building goes on in the back of our heads. Like, I don't know how you feel, but I really feel like I have to know all the background knowledge to be able to write the characters and write their reactions and how they would deal with the situations based on all that world building that's in the
Right.
background.
No, exactly. I was the same way when I was role playing. Sometimes, we go into a one-shot role playing game and we'll be handed a character sheet, and it has various statistics on it. Your strength, your dexterity, your intelligence level, things of that nature. And that's, quote, all you need to play the game. I was never happy with that. So I would flip the page over and I would write a background for that character. How did he get to this point in time? What does that character dream of being? What are their fears in life? Do they have any phobias? All kind of little things to kind of round out the character. And I ended up influencing, I think, a lot of the other role-playing people doing the same with their characters, and that's what kind of started for some of the characters that I now use in my stories. And when I decided I wanted to take these characters into a story of my own creation, I really wanted it to build that rich background. I'd probably have as many notes to fill a novel all by itself, just on the universe and the timeline.
And maybe that's my problem. Like I tried to play Dungeons and Dragons with my sons and I just couldn't do it. Like I couldn't think fast enough to know what the character would do next. Maybe that's because I
Right.
didn't like have that background just jumping
Right.
in
You
or
just
something.
handed a character cold and
Right.
like you don't know anything about the character.
Yeah, maybe that was my problem. I could never get into it when they're just like, do this, mom. I'm like, I don't know, I can't do that.
And I
So,
encourage a lot of younger people who are role playing, sit down with the dungeon master or the judge and say, okay, this is my base character starting right now today. Great. How did my character get here? Can I write this? Do you have something in mind? If the judge doesn't have anything in mind, and that leaves it up to you to develop. And I encourage people to do that. How did your character get to this point in time? Why are they interested in going on an adventure with these other characters who they may know or not know? And
yeah, those are
use your
really good,
imagination to develop that.
yeah, storytelling creative skills there. Fun. So your next book, do you know what the title of the next book will be, or it's
It is it is going to be entitled Battle Tested.
battle tested? Okay, so there is some battle then coming
Oh
for
yes,
these
yes.
characters.
There's some skirmishes, if you will, that go on in this first book, um, but it's not what I would call a full-blown battle. And that definitely takes place in the second book
Oh, okay.
to kind of really draw the crew together. Um, and it's not bloodless by any stretch of imagination. There's a lot of, death and things that would happen in a space battle. I mean, this ship is as large. You've got to think of an aircraft carrier. It has fighter wings attached to it. It's has got as many weaponry as a battleship. It's very well outfitted, but there are also a lot of other bigger and badder things out there in the universe, and that's what they come upon. So more things to occur in book two. Um, and if people are interested, I do have an author website that will go into a little bit more about that, and love for people to join it. And I kind of have an ongoing little blog there that I speak about my writing process and where things are. And I'm happy to field any questions people might have.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Have you drawn out like what the spaceship looks like? Do you have that?
I have a description of it in book one. Funny story about that. My publisher is very adamant, hey, we have, this is space opera, so we have to put a starship on the cover. I get that. Um, and he worked with a graphic artist. So he said, hey, in book one, make sure you have a good description of what the ship looks like, in your vision. And I did that and I passed it on to him. The cover that came back didn't look anything like I imagined, but I'm not too married to it, so I'm not, very upset or anything. I just thought it was more amusing than anything else. And I've heard that from other science fiction authors that sometimes they don't really even get a say in what their covers are, um, and it doesn't necessarily relate to the story. And I think a lot of experienced readers know that, but
Yeah.
it's just a big book on the cover. The current one is kind of amusing. I don't even know if where is the front or back of the ship, by the way, the picture was. If
Um,
anybody can really see that, but
it looks like a big ship, and yeah, I
well, it's a
mean,
big ship,
as
and it
long as
shows
they
some
can,
fighters. So
right, yeah, as long as readers can recognize it as the genre that they're looking for, I think that's all you need in a cover.
right,
So,
right. That's all that's important. I think for the next one, we'll definitely have to have a space battle going on for the cover, since that's a big part of that story. So.
yeah. Fun. Well, tell us what your website is and everywhere we can find your books or your book, I guess.
Absolutely. My website is interests, plural,
Okay.
.com, all run together. Soul Interests in the Story is the name of the company that develops all of our um, interstellar travel technology, the jump drive, as I call it. It allows us to jump to a point light years in space. And it's all controlled by one company that humanity has. And you'll learn more about that company as the books progress. So soulinterest.com is my website. You can buy the book direct from there. It's also available on Amazon, both in book format and in Kindle format. You can also go to my publisher. Their name is Space Wizard Science Fantasy .com, a long name. And they also sell my book direct from the publisher as well. So a lot of ways of getting the book. You can also meet me at various conventions that myself and my wife attend all around the southeast portion of the U.S. I think we're up to about a dozen events that we're going to be at next year.
Oh, fun. And are all those listed on your website, hopefully?
Oh, yes.
Okay, good. Well, and I'm impressed that you got her to go with you. Kudos on that.
Well, it's funny. We already have a separate business and been attending science fiction and fantasy conventions for 6 years now. So we've already been vending at those conventions, selling tea and tea products. So I'm already there. I'm already a recognized face, and attending some of the panels and in networking while I've been there with other authors to understand the business, how this works. And so now it's just I'm helping my wife vend at these same conventions. We're going together, but now I'll be off selling my book, attending panels now on the other side of the fence, so to speak, and talking to people about science fiction, fantasy, and future topics.
So fun. Well, I hope you'll come back next year once you publish the second book in the series. The first book is A New Beginning, military space opera with E.J. Isaacs. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I'd be happy to be back next year.
Great. Bye.
Take care now.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Finding the Magic podcast. I'm your host, author and podcaster Tricia Copeland, and I love getting behind the scenes. If you like the podcast, make sure to subscribe and stop in each week to discover new authors and books. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep finding the magic.